I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic, and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans. And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field. Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum. From the Northwest Bank Studios, it's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
What is up? It is Wednesday, the 14th of January, 2026, 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm Chris Williams. I'm joined today by Jake Brend, who is in Lawrence. Brent Blum is doing some training with Farm Bureau today. He didn't just, I promise, he told us he couldn't make it before Iowa State lost by 20 in Allen Fieldhouse. We are presented, as always, by Mechdyne. That is spelled Mechdyne. We are in the Northwest Bank Studios. Jake, how are you today? Good morning. You doing okay,
that
buddy?
That sucked.
It did suck.
Oh, yeah.
You were right there in the middle of it.
I remember why I don't have blackout curtains. Because my curtains were like shut completely. And I woke up at 7:45 and thought that I got 20 minutes of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I like that natural light. So I've had a couple of hotel cups of coffee though.
Atta boy.
We're good to go. Brutal night
in so many ways, and we'll get to that. I guess I should have checked. Do we have any TJ Ozelberger video loaded up for this thing? If not, it's okay. I just
I can get it uploaded.
That would be great, because I think that it would be, there's probably a lot of people who watched this show this morning who, quite frankly, didn't care to wait up for post game and for your report on the Cyclone Fanatic YouTube page, because it was such a dud of a game. It was just not a fun game to watch last night. It was Iowa State just as TJ Ozelberger kind of said, they just weren't ready to go, and I like that, kind of throwing the blame on yourself, while at the same time, Kansas Jayhawks, their record is what their record is, but they're insanely talented. And Iowa State, Jake, I was worried about this going into it. I thought that they would be incredibly desperate. I wish they would have won at West Virginia on Saturday. I don't know if it would have made a difference last night, but it's just, in that building, an unranked Kansas team against a top 5 team, like it's not supposed to be that way, and they sensed it. That crowd was hot from the beginning. That team was as motivated as they will be all season long. And Iowa State, at the same time, it wasn't all about Kansas. Iowa State stepped in it and didn't do the things that it normally does. Cyclones have their first loss of the year.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to go. And the desperation, I think what was frustrating for me was you expected Kansas to be desperate, and you knew it was going to happen. And it was disappointing to see Iowa State not be able to match that. But at the same time, what's the old expression? You can't fake desperation. And I saw a lot of people saying Iowa State showed no effort. They showed zero hustle. The biggest play of the game was where Elmarco Jackson got poked away by Torrey. Torrey was going to have an easy dunk the other way. Torrey was not hustling. He was going to grab the ball. He was going to get a dunk the other way. Jackson made what Bill Self called a 20-80 play. And that was the difference last night. That was not on Torre. Torre shouldn't have dove on the ground for that. That would have been stupid. He had a dunk going the other way. Jackson just made a better play, and it completely changed the game. And that, I think, was kind of a microcosm of the entire night. Self talked about that play specifically for like 5 minutes in the post-game press conference. And if we should get into the conversation about the pedestrian stuff, the way Bill Self was talking was, this team has been pedestrian for weeks, and they finally were able to put it together, and they finally played like they liked each other. They finally played like they had flow. And Kansas looked like a team that could be in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 last night, but they were not playing to that level before. And Self was, he was over the moon with how his team played.
He should be. That's the Kansas. They played to their talent level last night, and it is different. Like I was laying in bed with my daughter Elise last night, and I was working. I was rubbing her back, doing dad stuff while I was waiting on you to get your stuff done and making sure you didn't need anything and all that stuff. And I was thinking about this because I'm going through metrics and I'm going through the other Big 12 results and box scores. It's doing what I do on a normal game night. And it is like the whole aspect of Iowa State being the hunted playing at Kansas is just so foreign. But when you have that little when you have that little number 2 next to your name too, like this is why, like Saturday, you get up. Like I don't think Cincinnati's very good, but they're just good enough defensively where they can really jack with you. Like they really can. And when you got that little 2 next to your name, everybody gets up for you. And we've seen that. Like, so, okay, I'm not going to dwell on last night. I refuse to overreact to one loss at Allen Fieldhouse. I'm looking forward. So you've got to figure out the slow start thing. You've got to figure out the slow start thing. You have to figure out, and mainly that's it. But all I'm saying is, like, we saw it at Baylor. We even saw it, I think, to a lesser extent against Oklahoma State. If that game on Saturday was in Stillwater, I don't know if Iowa State wins it. It's a hypothetical, and you like to think that maybe you got the talent and the dudes and the Jimmies and the Joes, to quote Bill Self, to get it done. I think so, but they got to figure this out because it's not going to stop. I think Iowa State will win the games it's supposed to and be in the top 5 for much of the season, probably the top 10. And you're going to get more of this. Now, the one thing you won't get until you go to Arizona in March is an atmosphere like you had last night. But this is good. Like, let's. How do you learn from it? How do you get back up from it? I know I trust TJ Ozelberger and his staff to get them there, but it's a short turnaround, and you got to go to the Cincinnati team that, again, I think they play Colorado tonight, and the students are going to wear paper bags over their heads to protest the current. So it's not great there, but you're talking another desperate team that certainly doesn't have the talent the Kansas Jayhawks do. I'm not trying to say that, but this isn't an easy turnaround. I'd much rather be playing like a Cincinnati at home on Saturday than what Iowa State has to go do. But maybe it's a good thing. Maybe you got their attention. Let's see how the guys bounce back.
Yeah, and I'd compare Iowa State Cincinnati basketball to Iowa Northwestern football, where you play very similar styles. One team is clearly better than the other at doing it, but it does make for close games, and that's a scary spot. And at this point, it's just time for Iowa State to start a game well. I think the excuse of we've got a number 2 next to our name, we've got a target on our back, of course we're going to get a team's best shot. I think that works for 1 or 2 games.
Yeah.
But eventually, you've got to get used to it and start games well. There's no excuse at this point. There's no reason they should be down 10 at the 10-minute mark of every single game they play. They're better than that. We know they're better than that. We know how they finish or how they start second halves. They got to get out and do
All
that.
I'm saying is now that you lost one and you got your
really
ass
frustrating.
You got your ass kicked in the process, like in a very hopefully that's what can change this. And I've seen a lot of things in the comments about the defense. last night in the first half specifically. And I think a lot of that, Jake, was because of the turnovers on the other end. Like Iowa State doesn't turn the ball over at the rate that it did last night very often, and I would be
gosh, it was horrible.
I would be really surprised if Iowa State has a defensive outing like that again in the near future. I think Kansas had a lot to do with it because they were making everything. Credit to them. Give credit to them. They were making tough shots. But Iowa State was so out of sync and so bad offensively, specifically in the first half, that it greatly jacked with the defense. So again, like I think that's pretty correctable. I don't think all of a sudden Ozelberger's team just forgot how to defend.
Yeah, shots on goal is the stat that I know Ozelberger's used a little bit. It's the most important stat in basketball. It's how many turnovers do you have? How many turnovers do you force? How many offensive rebounds do you have? How many offensive rebounds do you give up? And Iowa State just got their butt kicked in that category. They had more turnovers than field goals made in the first half. They had more turnovers than field goals attempted 6 minutes into this game. That's a losing recipe. And I do agree the defense didn't look great, but I thought that was more of a byproduct of what the offense was doing. They did seem a step slow, and I think if you want to dwell on last night's game specifically, I think a lot of that came down to how they guarded Darren Peterson. And I think they treated Darren Peterson like the number one pick in the NBA draft, and they were denying him. That's just not really what Iowa State does defensively. They don't necessarily face guard one player. And I think that really opened things up for a lot of other guys who were able to get downhill. And to me, that seemed to be the difference. And I mean, then there's the entire aspect of an Allen avalanche where Iowa State was clearly rattled. They were clearly sped out of control. And they were clearly not playing their brand of basketball and got dictated by another team.
Let's hear what TJ Ozelberger had to say about that very comment after the game.
I think the physicality on both sides, I think like the defensive physicality, guarding the dribble, getting into the basketball and pressuring the ball, we didn't have that mentality to how we did things. And then that carries over to the offensive side because we got sped up. We didn't finish through contact. We didn't keep our composure to play later in possessions and move the basketball. We appeared a little bit spooked and panicked, and the moment got us, and we weren't able to recover. And, we've got to do a better job how we start games on both ends. I think, again, it's happened the last few games, hadn't had the quickest start that we'd like and impose our will on the game. And I think that's on both sides of the basketball. So that's something we can certainly learn, work on, improve upon, and be better as we move forward.
It was Jake's video from after the game. How was, if you had to summarize post-game, Bill Self, TJ Ozelberger, what did you learn? I haven't watched it, so I'm leaning on you here.
Yeah. I mean, Ozelberger, Momcilovic were they gave a lot of the credit to Kansas, but said what they did was unacceptable. Ozelberger called it a beatdown in his opening statement. And that, I think the general sense I got from them is exactly kind of what me and you have been saying and what we felt. I thought the biggest takeaway for me was just how ecstatic Bill was about his team and how before the game, he wrote on the whiteboard, dive on the floor, something else. Dive on the floor, something else. Like, it was an emphasis the entire night for them to go play like their season was on the line. And who knows, maybe it was a slice of humble pie for Iowa State to realize that, yes, you've got the number 2 number next to your name, but right now that Purdue win means nothing. I think right now the message should be that you've got to go prove it again, because we're now about 6 weeks, 7 weeks of Iowa State not really playing a great basketball game. It's been since that Purdue game, since the last time they played, and they need to go prove that team is still in there, because I know they are. This team is still who I think they are. They need to snap out of this funk, and I guess the analogy I would use is that you think back to taking a test in college or high school, or you're in this class and you keep doing the bare minimum study wise, homework wise, and you keep getting a B minus, or you keep getting a B. Like, oh, that's perfectly fine by me. I'll keep doing the bare minimum. And then one of those times you're going to go out and get a D. And that's where you're like, okay. It's time to actually lock in now and do the work. And hopefully that's what you can draw this slow start thing to, is like, oh yeah, we got down 10-12, but we'll make a run. Well, that run didn't happen last night, and hopefully the team learns from that.
I do have a couple of concerns that I don't know if it's that easy, and we'll get to those here momentarily. I want to thank our great sponsors, starting with Circa Sports Iowa, who's on board for the 2026, I guess, basketball season. Last night would have been a great opportunity to do the old Dennis Blum thing. Dennis Blum, Blum's dad, taught me this a really long time ago, that he always bets against his team no matter what. He's just hedging himself. It's just a genius move by a crafty gentleman, Dennis Blum. Would have been genius last night to just take Kansas money line, because then you win either way. Anyways, Circa Sports Iowa, I love those guys. I love going out there and seeing them. Derek, Aaron, my buddy Mike Palm, thank you to them for jumping on board here and supporting Cyclone Fanatic. Also, I got a cool text yesterday from a friend, kind of sad, but a friend of mine, a fanatic, whose brother died recently, and all the estate planning and stuff was done by Hopewood, and he was telling me about how great of a job Hope did. So hopewoodjd.com. I actually have emailed her. I'm going to be doing my will here coming up. Keep telling you about that as I go through the process. And finally, last but certainly not least, Gravitate Co-working. Check them out at gravitatecoworking.com. I've been downtown a lot lately, and I walk by there all the time, and that place is always bustling with a bunch of people who are co-working from Gravitate Co-working. So that's awesome. Let's do our Pest of the game with Preferred Pest Control. They came out and did my initial spray last week, so that we don't have like a spider problem when it warms up and all that stuff. The Pest of the game, the Preferred Pest Control is White the Pest of the game? Because it felt like that son of a gun, wherever he was at, was going to be making a shot. I thought that Badunga may have been my Pest of the game, though, because it felt like Badunga for Kansas really, especially in the first half, it was like Iowa State they looked like Iowa as far as terms of like how their offense goes, just not attacking. I don't know what you were there, Jake. What do you think?
I would say I'll go outside the box. My Pest of the game would be how Iowa State decided to attack Badunga. I don't think they respected him enough, and I know he's kind of at a sophomore slump. He has not been as good this year as he was last year, and I think Iowa State thought that they could take it to him, and they did not. And I think Badunga, as much as any player, changed this game defensive.
So you agree with me? Badunga's the Pest of the game?
Yeah. Either that or Elmarco Jackson, the guy who dove on the floor for that loose ball. I think that changed the game, because I think the score was 16-9 at that point, or 14-9. Like, Iowa State had started horribly and weathered the storm, gotten a couple stops. And if Torrey goes the other way and dunks it, I mean, you got yourself a ball game. Instead, Jackson makes the play of the game, ends in a 3. Like, that completely changed the game. And it was hustle plays like that all night by Elmarco Jackson, 8 points off the bench for the Kansas Jayhawks.
A lot of people have nominated you as the Pest of the game for that tweet last week.
Yeah, it's fair. I still completely stand by it. I'm not backing down from it at all.
It's fair. Never going to tell you how to
Houston,
think, buddy.
Houston won in Allen Fieldhouse last year. We're as a fan base, as a fanatic site, we're in a gray area right now where it's like you want to be proud of the team and you want to be great supporters, but you also want to say that you're national title and Final Four contenders. Like, national title and Final Four contenders win games on the road as 4-point favorites regardless of the atmosphere. How many times did Bill Self come into Hilton Coliseum when the atmosphere was on fire with a much better team and win the game. Happens all the time. So that I still stand by the take. I think it's kind of I don't know. I think it's a loser mentality to think otherwise. And I get it. Allen Fieldhouse is incredible. But the Kansas team is not incredible. At least they haven't been so far. Maybe now that Peterson's played 3 games and he's finally finishing games or getting close to finishing games, maybe they end up being incredible by the end of the year. But I still completely stand by it that are you not disappointed? That was the verbiage I used. I'll be very disappointed if Ohio State loses.
I would add to that, to play devil's advocate to you, that and I know that you know this, but just for the sake of conversation, and a lot of people don't even know about your take last week other than me talking about it, how I put you on administrative leave and it was all like a joke. But this is what I would say to the people who are being harshly critical right now is it does matter, but it really doesn't in the scheme. It's not like this isn't football where when you lose one game or two, where everything that you have as far as front of you as a goal is gone. If they win on Saturday, they won't even drop out of the top 5. Like that, the metrics. Yeah, you got beat up a little bit last night, but not. You dropped from 3 to 4 in KenPom. Like it's not. It's really not the end of the world. And for me, and I know, and I catch hell for this a lot. Like I would love for Iowa State to win a Big 12 regular season title, but it really doesn't matter to me that much anymore because of how the schedule is. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
They've ruined this as far as the decision makers in college. Like when it was a round robin, damn it meant something. It doesn't mean anything now with these unbalanced schedules. So yeah, everything is still out there, but let me get to what I tease, because I do have two concerns, but they're concerns, but I do think that they will be alleviated. But let's talk about them anyways. So the Buchanan is in a rut. He only played 14 minutes last night, was largely taken out of the game by Kansas. And then the other one is, listen, Torrey's great, and we know what he is and what he can be at his best, but he's clearly in some sort of like an offensive freshman funk right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Torrey thing, I'm more confident that just snaps out of this at any point. And he'll burst through it. We see this with freshmen in this game, specifically in this league, all the time. The Buchanan one is I need to see something from him here in the next couple weeks that, because we've seen him play really good basketball. That Purdue game, I think he was just phenomenal. We know he can play against really good bigs. Is the physicality of the Big 12 worn on him? Is he in one of those, mid-season grinded out? Because this is he played at Virginia, so he played high major basketball, but it's a different level of physicality than what you were asked to play with under Ozelberger, specifically in this league. Those would be the two things where it's because I have complete faith that Jefferson, Lipsy, Momcilovic, all those guys are they're not going to have a night like that where they're all so bad again. I truly don't think so. The chances of that happening are slim to none. But these other guys have got to kind of snap out of it before you get to this February stretch is really the key. And that's what I'm looking at. How do you, hold serve here and be playing your best basketball when Kansas comes back to town in exactly a month from now?
Yeah, you hit on it. I think it's going to take Torrey breaking through that wall. It happens. Every freshman in America will go through that other than, Darren Peterson, AJ DeBanza, Carlos Boozer. Those are NBA guys playing college basketball right now.
But it's
every
not
other
like
freshman
Peterson
playing as big of a role as Torrey.
It's not like Peterson's been great all year.
Yeah, he's just been playing through a bad hamstring.
Yeah.
If he was completely healthy, he's probably your Wooden Award winner. He's that special. He's an NBA All-Star. But regardless, what's
I
happening with Torrey is normal.
Completely.
Like,
but again,
we
like
saw what he can do in Vegas. We saw what he can do at Purdue.
At least and this is why I'm just not as worried about him, is one, you have Bateman, who seems to be thriving right now, so he can help you with some of the offensive stuff there. But two, I just need to see Torrey doing the things on defense to keep Lipsy healthy. That's the thing for me. And he's still doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe humbled a little bit on Tuesday night, and that's okay. Not humbled in a bad way. I don't think he was getting cocky. That was the billing for that game. Those two guys. Peterson he wasn't perfect, was he? 5 of 16. It's not like he just went off and had a crazy. He was really good though. So I'm just more like the defensive thing. I'm not really worried about it. He's not the offensive player that he was a month ago. And is he being scouted more? Is he at that wall? I don't know. But that's one thing that I kind of have circled with this Iowa State team to figure out here over the next few weeks.
Well, and it's a bit of the freshman Taman Lipsy conversation where teams are sagging off of him, maybe not at that extreme of a level, but I would say there's probably a correlation between Torrey's offensive struggles and Jefferson's turnovers, because that's one more defender that you can have roaming around if you're not stuck to Torrey when he's off ball. And that's where you're leading to a lot of guys crashing Jefferson in the paint and him trying to dribble through it, trying to finish through it. And that, I think if you see Torrey break through this freshman wall, I think that will help Jefferson as well. If he doesn't, you are probably going to have to look at some different options. And maybe that's Torrey going from 33 minutes a game to 28 minutes a game. And that's not the end of the world if you have to do that, because I also do think Bateman is a guy that is elevating his defense while also showing what we all know about him offensively. And we all know what you're getting with Nate Heisey as well. So Torrey's not the only great defender on this team. He is the best defender on the team, and you want him out there as much as humanly possible. But if he can't get out of this offensive rut and you need to take 5 of his minutes and give it to Bateman or Heisey, I don't think that's the worst decision in the world.
Also might help him get out of the rut. Like, I know he's what did TJ call him, a Lamborghini, but even Lamborghinis need their oil changed every once in a while.
Yep.
And like, maybe like this is like, it's a long season. College basketball's a grind. So it's not just the way Iowa State plays. Like, you see this when these guys, and you have to understand too, like the AAU circuit and a lot of these prep schools, like they don't even play defense half the time. Now Torrey's wired a little differently, where like he wasn't like that, but you're just not going as hard. And now instead of being the biggest, fastest, strongest guy, like he's now going against like lottery picks, like Peterson, and it's just so let's see. I'm not going to overreact to any of this. We have to pick it apart because that's our job, and there's certainly a lot to pick apart about last night. But again, like to me, the more concerning trend would be just over the last 2 weeks, where you're just beating teams that you're just a lot better than. And for what it's worth, Jake, I anticipate they'll do that on Saturday at Cincinnati. I'm just throwing it out there that it's not the team on the road that I would like to get after a game like this. So Cincinnati, again, they play Colorado tonight. They're 61 in KenPom. This is a basketball team that is ranked 8th defensively. Really, really, really good in terms of an offensive rebound, or a rebounding team just in general when you look at their profile. And but they're 0-3 in the league. They get Colorado at home tonight, where they're going to be a 4 to 5 point favorite. And things are not
Bags
looking
on their heads.
Yeah, like it's going to be. I'm gonna watch that game tonight, and I don't really know what to expect, but I get to wrap it up. The level of desperation is going to be there for that team too. So this is you're in
if they
now.
lose tonight.
Maybe
they lose
the wheels
tonight, I could make the. That's where I'm going. I'd almost reverse of this past weekend, where it's like, man, I I knew it in the moment when we were doing our pregame show for the Oklahoma State game. It's like, I wish Kansas won that game because they're going to come out desperate. With Cincinnati, it's kind of the opposite. I kind of hope they lose tonight, go to 0-4, and think that team might quit because, I mean, their student section is going to have damn bags on their heads. Like,
I agree.
So that's kind of what I'll be pulling for. And in a weird way, like, I'll confidently say Cincinnati sucks, but I also think they're probably as good, if not better, than they've been in the past. From a pure roster standpoint, from a pure talent standpoint, I think they're just as good as the team that almost came into Hilton Coliseum last year. The team that gave Iowa State troubles at the Big 12 tournament. I just think they're horribly coached. I think Wes Miller is a bad coach. I can't believe they brought him back. And that echoes what the Cincinnati fan base feels right now. But this is absolutely not a game that you can go sleepwalk into and win. They are, let me say this, if they're coached by TJ Ozelberger, they're probably tournament. That's still the type of roster you're talking about. You're one of those early TJ teams is kind of how I'd compare them to.
Let's very, very quickly do a little Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment.
When you plant Wiffles Hybrids, you're making a statement that independence and family-owned means something on your farm. So make your choice. Plant your independence. Plant Wiffles.
Just looking at tonight's slate in the Big 12, not a very good one. And again, we're just seeing this from week to week because there's so much discrepancy between the top teams and the bottom teams. That Colorado and Cincinnati game will be one of the Peacock/NBC Sports Network games. So if you get NBC Sports Network on like YouTube TV, you'll be able to watch it there. That is a 6:00 tip. It does look like Cincinnati is an 8.5 point favorite in that game. I would probably take the points. Colorado's like sneaky, like interesting this year. Have you watched them much?
Yeah, they're interesting because they've kind of gone against the grain in college basketball where they were bad last year. And usually a bad team completely rolls over their roster, try something new. They've brought back quite a bit.
Yeah, they have chemistry and they play well together.
And they've just gotten their guys from last year have taken a step up this year. They've brought in a couple nice freshmen. So they're still a bubble team. They're not great. They certainly have their limitations, but they can absolutely go in and beat Cincinnati. Especially I think you've got two pretty comparable teams, and one team's playing a lot better than the other right now. So I'm with you. I'd take the points.
Sneaky game that I'm interested in, only because we're Big 12 geeks, is Central Florida at Kansas State tonight.
Fascinating.
Yeah, because Kansas State's a little deceiving because they're 0-3 in the league, but two of their losses are to BYU and Arizona. So you didn't really expect them to win. And then their other loss was at Arizona State. So they had that Arizona swing. Iowa State had to do that last year. So, like, are they that bad, or is it just a product of the schedule where you expect them to bounce back? Meanwhile, Central Florida with wins over that Cincinnati team we just talked about, and then Kansas, they lost on the road at Oklahoma State. So they're 2-1. Like, this is probably, if like, just a Big 12 fan, if I could watch one game tonight, this is the one I would pick.
Yeah, and Central Florida is, firmly a tournament team as of right now. They did the work in the non-conference. They're talented. They're the opposite of Colorado. They had a bad year last year and pretty much completely turned over the roster. It's almost all newcomers, and they've gelled well together. And I do think Kansas State is very poorly constructed and poorly coached, but they still have PJ Haggerty, who's a 20-point-a-game scorer. You listen to Tang in his post-game press conference the other day. I don't know if you heard that, but he essentially said, like, yeah, our guys have chemistry off the court. They just have no chemistry on the court, and I don't know how to fix that. Well, Jerome, that sounds like a problem you should probably be addressing. But I'd probably sprinkle a little bit on Central Florida, but in a weird way,
I kind of think
a little bit K-State wins.
I kind of feel like K-State bounces back, and I don't know.
They might be having a paper bag game here.
That's
eventually.
my thing. Like, are they bad enough to really drop to 0-4? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they are.
It hasn't really been talked about, but
because then they got to go
they're so
to
lucky
Oklahoma
that they're not
State.
even
Like,
worse.
they could be 0-5 if they lose tonight.
And in a weird way, they're lucky that they're not even worse, because I don't know if you remember how this all played out. So K-State, similar to the year before, they got the resources to put together a well-funded roster. And this year, for whatever reason, they struck out in the transfer portal. And PJ Haggerty pulls an AJ Green where he enters the draft, but or I guess that'd be the reverse AJ Green. He enters the NBA draft, and then at the last possible second, which is I think May 31st, says, "No, I'm going to come back." And then when he withdrew his name from the draft, K-State was the only team that had money left to spend because every other team had spent their money on a big-time player, and K-State didn't land one. So they lucked into Haggerty, who's a first-team All-Big 12 player. If he stayed in the NBA draft, K-State would essentially have this team right now without him. So they're fortunate to have him.
Other Big 12 games tonight, you have Utah at Texas Tech, Arizona State at Arizona, and then you have TCU at BYU.
I'm intrigued by that TCU game. I think they're good. I don't know if they're great. I don't even know if they're a tournament team because their resume doesn't completely back it up yet, but I think I'd firmly say that, maybe not firmly, they're a top 8 team in the Big 12.
I mean, they played Arizona pretty well.
Played Arizona well. They were up
Watch that
20
game.
in Allen Fieldhouse. They hung with Michigan early in the season. They dominated Wisconsin, Florida. I think they're good. I would expect BYU to win that game, but 12.5 is a lot of points. I think I'd take the points in that one.
Okay. So football recruiting just keeps rolling, and we're covering the hell out of that. I actually am
Almost done.
Yeah, they're almost done. I do have a little bit of insight on some of the skill players I'm going to write about here when we get off the air for our premium subscribers. Yeah, well, and then it does sound like next week we're going to be able to finally spend some time with Rodgers and his staff potentially, because I get it. Like, they've been literally trying to put an entire roster together in the span of like 2 weeks with the portal. So totally understand it. And I'm excited to sit down and finally like really learn about these players and probably get to know Coach Rodgers and his staff just a little bit more as well. But, you know, I don't know if you listened to the show on Sunday night, Jake, where Brent and I had the discussion, like where it truly is impossible to know like where Iowa State could end up here. I'm anxious to hear more about like style of play and stuff, specifically on the offensive side. Like, what are the goals? What are we looking at in terms of like, I know it's pro style and like, I get all that stuff, but like, I just want to learn more about it. But I do like when I look at Iowa State's schedule and when I look at like what other teams in the Big 12 are going through who are on that schedule, you're really not in foreign territory here. Like he's got an opportunity to win 7 or 8 games in his first season. Do you agree with that? Like, or it's one of the you know this roster better than I do. Like you and Jackson have been following these guys closer than me. I'm really optimistic. Like I don't think we're going to go into Jack Trice in the first game of 2026 just like praying for a bowl game. I mean, I think it may end up where that's like the expectation is to at least get to 6 wins in year one of Jimmy Rodgers.
I'm at the point, and I want to say I might have even said this really early before the transfer portal even started, was that I would I'd be mildly surprised if Iowa State's defense this upcoming year was not better than their defense last year. And I know injuries played a deal in all of that, but I really do think the pedigree of what Rodgers and Bobbitt were able to accomplish at Washington State, at South Dakota State all those years, and bring that over when you're bringing over half the Washington State defense, and then you're bringing, I'd say, the MAC All-Stars to fill it out. I think they've got a chance to be a really good unit. And if we're just calling a spade, Iowa State's offense this past year was incredibly disappointing. Yes, there's a lot of talent. Yes, there's a lot of guys getting good money from Penn State and other schools on the offense, but the talent did not back it up really at all this year. So you're not replacing a top 10 offense in college football. I think you're kind of doing the old Chris Hassel take where you expect the defense to be really good, and you're like, oh, if you could just be like a top 55, top 65 offense, then yeah, I do think 8-4 is not out of the realm of possibility.
All right, we'll get home safely. Hope that the loss didn't. You just turn on like a podcast or something, like get your mind off of it. Maybe some Tupac. You seem really down this morning.
Dude,
Jake.
I listened to a lot of Tupac on the way. I listened to a lot of Tupac on the way down here yesterday. Nice. I was like,
what's your favorite?
Shannon Earhart took a video of me. Shannon took a video of me when I was sitting courtside, and there's just some rap music playing, and I was just staring at warm-ups for like a minute straight. I was so locked in.
Just locked in.
Maybe I need to switch things up. Go with some like 70s country or something like that. Maybe I was too locked in. Maybe that's where I affected the team.
Get out of here. Drive
Sorry,
safe.
guys. I'll take like when you get blown by and you grab a guy and you like, yep, I got him. I'll do that for the fan base. I learned my lesson. I got him. I'll be better next time.
If there's one thing I've learned in 41 years of life, anything that you tweet or I tweet has nothing to do with how the team performs. Absolutely nothing.
That's right.
And I've also learned that in our job, we are often the front door for the fans' emotions, and they'll say mean things, and then they'll be extremely happy with us when good things happen. You're fine.
It's a privilege. Pressure's a privilege.
Get out of here. Jake Brend, thanks for filling in. Blum will be back with me on Sunday night here in the Northwest Bank Studios. We are presented, as always, by Mechdyne. Daily Clone later today here on Cyclone Fanatic. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.